Well, welcome back to Coronation Radio. We are once again back here at Denton Cigar Company.
Broadcasting live from our radio station on a hill in the middle of I-35.
That's right. That's right. And we've been keeping pretty busy these last couple. This is the shortest amount of time between episodes, I think.
We're getting our bootstraps on, you know.
That's right. But that's all right. You know, we've never said that this was going to be something that was going to be like 7 days a week, 3-hour podcast.
Dedication, streaming. I can't imagine all those professional streamers doing this 8 hours a day. It's just insane.
Well, I
mean, it's their job. It makes sense. Yeah.
No offense to those dudes, but like the ones where it's like people sitting there playing video games all day long. I'm like, this is excruciating. I don't know how people. I understand I'm not the target audience.
You're not the target audience.
So I'm not trying to say that it's bad. I'm just saying,
Dunning-Kruger effect, you know.
Yeah. I'm just like, this is not for me.
Yeah, but we're back.
We are. We've been keeping pretty busy here. How did you win the race?
I didn't win the race. So what Dave is talking about is I ran a half marathon. I was like 800th of 1,000 men or something like that, or 1,000 people or in the half marathon. Like I think it was 800 of 1,100. So I beat 300 people, given probably only 200 people of the people that I beat. Probably of the 300 people that I beat, probably 200 of them didn't even show up. So, you know,
the question
saying
is,
a lot.
The question is, though, which half
of the half marathon?
Yeah.
No, when I got to mile 13, I was like, I cannot do two of these. I'm done. Like I at least not in this decade or this lifetime. I probably won't be able to do the full marathon, but half I can do half. You know,
did you get a little 13.3 sticker to put on the back?
No,
of the car like
I don't have brag. I guess you have to buy those on Amazon.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I told you what you really needed is something to run from.
Right. Yeah. Like a reverse Greyhound.
Yeah.
You know how they have on the track that bunny that they chase. It's like they need something behind
like a monster or something.
Yeah. No, it's funny because one of my boss was like, the only time you see me running is from a bear.
Yeah, and even then, that's probably not the best thing to do.
Right.
But,
yeah. I ran a half marathon. You've been playing some gigs.
Yeah, man. I've been keeping busy. So we played Wildflower Festival on Friday. It was a lot of fun. Raven and Sammy, my wife and son, came along, and so it went really well. Crowd really enjoyed it, and we enjoyed playing it a lot. We did a couple of sets. You know, that's the old was it Temptations? I think it was. Just my imagination. Yeah, that we play that one, and we've been adding a few new songs that we kind of made our own. Like this, we started playing "If It Isn't Love," which is an old New Jack Swing tune from New Edition, which was that's like late '80s, early '90s kind of era there.
Yeah,
we fiddled around with My Prerogative, but it's not really ready for prime time.
Right. Kind of a hard song.
Yeah, but it's fun though.
Yeah,
and we're just toying with some other stuff too. But it's really a lot of fun. We were supposed to be playing a festival this Saturday, but it just got postponed because of weather. This time, it's the second time they postponed it. It originally was going to be back in April.
Dang.
And now it's not going to be till September.
We've had a lot of rain here in Denton. Yeah, a lot of storms. Yeah, which is good, you know.
Yeah, we still have like a private gig on Saturday, but we might go. Assuming that the tornado doesn't hit or something like that. After the gig is done, we might go down to the square and play. For a while, the downtown square in Denton.
And then you also, not to change subjects, but you published the paper on election.
Yes, finally.
Yeah. Looked great.
Yeah, I mean, you helped me kind of think through some of those things. We're struggling with quite a bit there. So, I know there was still areas I could have fleshed out more. Like, I don't think I really wrestled enough with the challenge of, you know, why does God save some people and not other people? But I think the biggest issue with that is you're asking about, you know, this is one of those, how can you possibly know the answer to the question things? It's entirely up to God's wisdom, and there's no way to really truly discern a real answer to that. There's, you know, again, I think there's more I could have gotten into, but I felt like for what I wanted to address in the moment, I did. And I'm thinking a lot about going back and rewriting some of the early ones, because like the first handful of them, I wasn't even really expanding them. I was just kind of copying and pasting what I wrote
from the previous years.
From earlier on. Like I think the one that I keep thinking about is the one that's on Satan and Hell.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I really want to expand a lot of those areas. Actually, I sent you that video from Gavin Ortland, and I've been watching a lot of his YouTube stuff, which has been. I like how thoughtful and pastoral he is and everything, because that's how I want to approach this stuff.
Right.
There's a real tendency, I think, especially among the Reformed crowd online, to be very. You want to be very like rigid, and this is what it. I mean, especially because there's this very unfortunate streak of fundamentalism.
Right.
That's wormed its way into some of the more aggressive
piety and legalism and
and I mean even that they would deny it legalism, and I don't want to get into all those specific definitions of that, but like in terms of the general attitude of how they're dealing with people. But I was saying to you the other day, and I started kind of fleshing out the idea just kind of very generally as an outline, but like once I finish these papers under the What We Believe heading, I kind of want to start already doing a follow-up called What We Must Do.
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe expanding more on the idea, like what does it really mean to live in this way? Because a lot of times when you're writing on these things, it becomes sort of. Trying to think of the right way to put it. You become bogged into the theological treatise, and what I really would like to do now that basically it's sort of I told you this story so I can tell you this one, sort of thing. So I've spent all this time spelling all this stuff out in very explicit detail,
making sure I say it correctly too,
and clearly and in a way that makes sense, so that I can make it clear when I begin speaking on more feet on the ground specific application stuff, that it's clear where I'm coming from, because I know some of the things I'm going to be saying, especially from people who are coming from certain political backgrounds, they're going to start trying to accuse me of being a liberal or something like that, which is hilarious. But I think it's important to spell this stuff out now so that I can just be like, no, I've spelled out in very explicit detail what it is that I believe, what it is that we believe, and if you're going to accuse me of that, then you need to have something clear other than I said that, and I said something bad about Donald Trump, or I said that we need to not love money or something like that.
Right.
So I actually wrote down some subjects that I thought might translate into chapters or papers, whatever. Well, and so like the heading is What We Must Do, and so each one is sort of a response, like a we must, and then you can fill in whatever. Then love God, obviously that's like square one, of course, and I know that is going to kind of be a restatement from stuff I've written before, but again, you got to lay the foundation with the most important thing. And love our neighbors, obviously it must go hand in hand.
Right.
Humble ourselves, that's been a kind of a theme, especially as I've tried to expand the application in these papers, is humility is a must. We have to have humble hearts, because raised swords and raised voices very rarely translates into good spiritual fruit.
Well, it's like live by the sword, die by the sword.
Yeah.
That if we're not humble and we take up those arms instead of humility, then we're gonna just die by the world, by worldly standards and not by heavenly ones.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
reject the pursuit of worldly power. Build good habits for life. That's obviously something you've just spent a whole lot of time working through with your class.
Yeah.
Take sin as seriously as Jesus.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a huge one. Suffer well.
Yeah.
I read a book a long time ago. My buddy Jared, who had podcasted with me before, he had recommended this book to me that I read, and I am blanking on the name, so I'm going to do what I always do, which is look
We need
it
a
up.
Jamie, and I remember we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
We need a Jamie. That's his name.
Jamie, what's that book that I read? Put it up on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, while he's looking that up, blah 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 blah. But you have to be Jamie.
Yeah, and then I just got to fill in, kind of fill in the space here because otherwise it's just dead air. Dead air. We're like college radio over here.
A more Homestar Runner.
That's right. No, it's not that one. I've got a whole bunch of random stuff saved in here from over the years of things I've bought and things I've snagged off of Kindle Unlimited. Kindle Unlimited has been a pretty probably.
I'm surprised you have so much time to read with Sammy and being a dad.
Having it on my phone is
yeah.
If I have like a lunch break or whatever, here it is. Rejoicing in Lament by J. Todd Billings. I mean, that whole book is themed around suffering well.
Yeah.
Be generous with the things we're given. I'm trying to use as plain language as I can.
But I love it. I think you're saying it in very profound ways. I think you're, very unique ways too. That.
Yeah. We got beware mixing our faith with cultural movements.
Yeah.
Which is extremely dangerous because I feel like there's something deeper than that. Like I don't know quite if I want to how do I want to express this, but I think one of them is going to have to be discern where scripture ends and tradition begins. Maybe because even Baptists have traditions. We were talking about Orthodox stuff earlier, I think before we hit the record button.
Yeah.
That they don't deny that they have traditions, but Baptists, I've heard Baptists try to claim that we just have the Bible, no creed but Christ.
Well, that, and then you got the Church of Christ, all these people that are claim to be as true to the original church as possible.
Yeah. And like Orthodox folks will claim to be the only true church,
right,
which is a whole other set.
Right.
That was kind of the subject that that video that I was showing you from Gavin Ortland was talking about, how that's the issue with the Orthodox Church is that they will say we are the only true church. You cannot. I think it probably varies depending upon the specific parish, the specific priest or pastor.
Seems like an American Orthodox
probably a
problem,
little more open-handed about it. I mean, that's the same thing with Roman Catholics.
Because there's also so many Orthodox sects, in Africa and in Asia and Eastern Europe, and they all have their own. Yeah,
and it depends on a lot of factors, of course. But like I've met Roman Catholics that are far more open-handed with that kind of thing than others are, and that's to be fair. We've talked about that before. How we're not going to consign anybody to the pits of hell because they disagree with us on a secondary or tertiary issue.
Yeah,
and even if they're struggling with a primary one, we're far more inclined to try to encourage them to think through that issue than we are to just say like, well, you're a heretic, you better repent or you're going to hell, which is, again, that's one of the unfortunate aspects of a lot of the more fundamentalist strains of Christianity.
Yeah.
But they tend to do that sometimes. But anyway,
what we must do.
Yeah.
I love all those topics. How many are there? 7, 8?
There's a couple more. Beware the lure of money and power. Mm-hmm. And the last one has live, speak, and walk in hope. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I think.
11? Okay, very good.
And I mean, I may add more. I may try to combine some.
Yeah.
It's still very preliminary because I still have to finish working through all of these, and that's going to take me a little while. But I would like to be finished working through them all by the end of the summer. Yeah. So, God willing. And the
yeah. Summer project. Yeah. At least. Yeah.
Of course, this is fixing to be a busy summer with gigs and this new job. Get this new job off the ground that I started.
That's right. Yeah. The Bill Mays, or what is it?
BAC.
BAC. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that's all right. Yeah. I started a professional Instagram for myself.
Oh, good deal. Yeah.
Try to get more engaged with there because BAC does a lot of advertising on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested to see where I can take this. I know it's going to take a while. Like, it's not going to be. This is not a farming sales job where you just sit there and you have accounts and you just rake in sales. This is very much hunting. So I'm going to have to get out there and start like rattling
Yeah,
bushes
prospects
and,
and cold calling.
Yeah.
Or warm calling, you know.
I mean, yeah, I've been sending emails out, but you really got to kind of keep on top of it, follow up. But so yeah, no, things are going pretty good. We're just busy, you know.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And Sammy's going to be going to kindergarten in the fall. That'll be a whole new adventure
Yeah.
for him.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for him. He's going to turn 5, 6.
He is 5.
He is 5.
He's in March, and
yeah.
He's a happy little guy. He's way into Legos right now.
Yeah.
He just wants to build all the time.
And C.S. Lewis and Narnia.
Yeah, we're on the silver chair now.
Yeah. Oh wow, you guys are cruising through them.
Yeah, he really.
That's awesome.
He really liked the Dawn Treader. I mean, as much as a 5-year-old can like it, you know, obviously there's a limit to what he understands, but he understands like the bigger adventure aspects of it. Obviously, I don't think he's ready for the underlying theological thing, but that's the thing. It's a children's story.
Right. It's meant to be.
Yeah.
For kids.
It's adventurous. It's discovering things, and I think he's going to really be interested in this too, because it's got giants and it's got sword fighting. Like, you know, I've got the American editions where it printed, like they have like 7 individual books printed with like the big color picture on each cover, and the cover of the silver chair is Prince Rillian smashing the chair with his sword, and he assumes, is that a bad guy? I'm like, no, that's actually a good guy. He's like, why is he breaking the chair? Like, well, you'll have to find out and read the story, you know.
I need to reread those books. Shoot, I need to finish my first read of Lord of the Rings, and I actually picked up. You inspired me. I picked up the Two Towers last week, and it was Sunday, I think. Day after my race, and Sunday night we put down the kids, and I was like, well, I'm gonna drink a beer, chose an IPA, and read a little bit more of Lord of the Rings. They're at the Gandalf, Aragorn, and crew are at that other kingdom where the wicked man is coercing the king or something like that. Wormtongue,
He's got his control over King Theoden.
That's right, yeah. So I'm on that part of the book, so I've made some progress.
I'm about to get back into that book, into the Two Towers. I've just got to the last chapter of Fellowship of the Ring, where Boromir will be going his own way. Well, actually, that doesn't happen until the beginning of Two Towers. So, but you know, where Frodo decides it's time for him to go, basically. Yeah. But spoiler alert, just in case, you know.
Yeah, 100-year, almost
90-year-old book.
90-year-old, yeah.
But no, things are doing pretty good. So you sent me that. You sent me that record, or that's like a MIDI of.
Yeah, MIDI mock-up.
Is that even still really the phrase anymore? Because I mean, it's
kind of.
It doesn't sound like MIDI did 20 years ago.
Right. It sounds better, you know.
It sounds like the real instrument.
Right. And so it's. I used MuseScore 4, version 4, and they have. It's still open source, but they have this collaboration with, it's called Muse Hub, and there's things you can purchase. You know, there's kind of a for-profit to the open source non-profit side, but it's still open source, still all free, and they have packages of like sound libraries that are also free, and that's what you heard. And I'll have Dave put up a recording and the score to our website, that if you'd like to listen to it and follow along, you can check it out.
And we'll listen to a little bit of it right now, just so we can kind of hear just a section of it here, and then I'll tell you my thoughts. But I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to the first couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that popped into my mind when I first listened to it was, first of all, it was like, man, I've been listening to so much second line music, because I immediately felt like there was like a rhythmic, like you could put a second line beat behind that,
right.
Aspect
which
to it.
I'm open to collaboration, you know, like,
this is kind of cool. So I was like, this is really cool. It's like, feels like it's moving. It's certainly not, you know, this is not like a Beethoven
string quartet,
sad, very moving, very romantic thing. It's also not like, who's the guy who does every movie score on the planet now?
Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, it's not like that. It was like
right.
It's actually got some melodic elements to it, but it does still have a lot more percussive aspects to it. So I was like, this is pretty cool. I like the way that it kind of makes them work a little more to fit stuff in. I'm trying to think of the way to put it here. Like they're not just playing notes. Like you can tell they're really going to have to dig into each one of those to have it have the effect you want it to have. So it's going to be pretty cool to hear it with an actual performing group.
Right. Yeah.
So who did you write that for?
No one, myself.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know any string quartets. Well, I know string players, but I don't have any connections. The story behind it is really like I've been a composer for 12, 13 years now, and I've always been scared to death to write a string quartet because when you go through music school, you learn about like Haydn and how he wrote like the Emperor's Sonata. You learn about the Beethoven string quartets, and then as a new music student, you learn about the really weird quartets by like Steve Reich and Lochenmann and all these like really avant-garde composers.
I can't listen to that
and
stuff.
and so you get really intimidated because it's a centuries-year-old genre, and there's a lot of stigma behind it about writing your string quartet. And I just kind of put it all by the wayside. I said just forget it. Like the pressure, the history. Like I still, for me, I was telling my wife about it. I was like, there's 3 things that kind of fell into place that like I feel like I have enough knowledge of the past tradition to like know what to do that I'm not reinventing the wheel, because that's a problem. That's difficult to overcome. And then 2, like I have enough like compositional prowess style that I've explored that I'm finally ready to like, okay, I'm ready to cement where I'm at as a composer now. Like I like through all 4 movements there are like different, they're kind of like snapshots of my different styles and exploring stuff. And then 3, I really feel like it's just a call from God to like love composing again. And I've incorporated at the very end of every movement there's a Bible verse accompanying each one. Like for the first one, which is rainbows, what rainbows remind us of. It's Genesis 9:12 through 17, and it's just basically the whole covenant that God made with Noah, that behold, I'm putting my bow in the sky as a sign that I will never wipe out all life again. And then the second movement's like Colossians. So you'll have to, they're little Easter eggs. You'll have to like check them out. When you listen to it and look at the score. So
that's really cool. Yeah, I mean, I liked what I heard at the beginning of it. I'll definitely have to check the whole thing out. I mean, in a town like this, you could throw a stone and hit a string quartet looking for something.
Hopefully, maybe, at least to record it, you know. Like,
I mean, you could just send an email to like one of the professors at UNT and be like, hey, you know, you got any?
That's true.
Looking for something to do.
I got $200 in my pocket, and I can give $50 to each performer.
Just sit down and play it in front of a microphone or something like that. What level would you say that's for? Like,
I think probably college level. And then I actually made like a version for saxophone quartet. And that's actually, so Chase Cliver, he goes to our church, and so him and I, and then like we're trying to recruit 2 other saxophonists to get together to rehearse it, practice it over time, and then maybe record it eventually. A saxophone version.
Or you just got to do that thing where you like record each track separately.
Yeah, I could do that too. But it's more fun to be with people, community. And like that was another thing compositionally that was really special to me, was like I wanted to create a quartet that would be standalone, just as good for strings and just as good for saxophones. Without like I did incorporate some like special like string effect or string techniques like pizzicato, but like saxophone that's very translatable with like hyper staccato, like almost slap tongue. But not every saxophonist can slap tongue, so they can still do like a really hyper slap or staccato. So I'm really proud of it. I really think they do stand alone by themselves. They're the exact same music and exact same notes, minus like some double stops and all that stuff like that. You know what a double stop is, where you play the same 2 strings at the same time. So saxophone, saxophone can't really do that other than like growling into the instrument, singing into the instrument. But
I mean, that's what we do for brass too.
That's true too. Yeah, Fanoog. You remember Fanoog? It's like a tuba solo, like it's a beatbox.
Yeah.
Like
it's been a long time
yeah.
since I've fiddled around with that
So,
kind of stuff.
long story short, there's a version for saxophone, and I feel like that it stands alone as a saxophone quartet, as well as a version for string. They're the exact same notes and music, but you get different timbres, and then if you're listening to it, you'd say like, oh, this is a saxophone quartet, or like, oh, this is a string quartet.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I liked it, and I'm looking forward to hearing more of it there.
Thank you for listening to it. Yeah.
For the avant-garde stuff, man, I just when I was in college in wind ensemble, they were always having us play this avant-garde stuff, like written in like the 60s and 70s. It was just unlistenable. Like I always said, it sounded like one kid got let loose on a piano while the other one did the percussion by knocking a bunch of lamps over randomly. It's like, why is this way? And of course,
but then like new music for wind ensemble, these is like Kevin Day and Omar Thomas. Have you listened to their pieces?
Yeah.
They're just beautiful. They're just incredible.
Well, yeah, there's definitely a renaissance of like listenable modern
right.
But there was just something like, especially coming to like the German school and stuff like that, it was just like, this is not pleasant. I know that a lot of it too was influenced from the culture of the time, like
post-war. It was rebuilding and
very dark. Yeah. Like I remember reading. It was Francis Schaeffer's. I think it's "He Is There and He Is Not Silent," where he writes about that. That
nice.
Kind of his what he was saying is that kind of music comes out of this side. So he has this idea that he calls the line of despair, and a culture that stands on the line of despair is a culture that has said God is dead.
Yeah.
And not in the sense that they literally believe that God was and now he's dead, but in the sense that they just simply have decided that what they can see with their own two eyes is all that there is. They don't have any interest in anything that's supernatural, that's beyond their immediate scope, whatever it is, however you want to put that. And you can stand on one side or the other. Standing on either side doesn't mean you believe something different about God being dead. But a person who stands on the upper side is somebody who says, God is dead, but I'm still going to live as somebody who believes that life should have the values that people who believe that God is not dead say it should have.
Yeah.
It's like, so they're living inconsistently, but it's an inconsistency that is a healthy inconsistency, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Whereas people who live on the other side are people who say God is dead and therefore there's really no meaning. And he associated that with some people like who's the guy who did the 3 minutes 34 seconds?
John Cage.
His music kind of stuff, where he has this piece that I think is still being played today. It's like this organ
as
piece.
slow as possible.
It's like days long notes and stuff like that. And he's like, this is just coming from a place of utter despair, hopelessness, which, obviously I don't know if John Cage would agree with that or not. That's kind of his impression of the movement.
Yeah, and but I'll have to read that. That's by Francis Schaeffer.
Yeah, it's not a huge book, but it's really interesting. Very thoughtful dude. I'd call him more of a Christian philosopher, I think.
Yeah,
but he's got a lot of interesting thoughts.
I think one of his like the people that he influenced, John Mark Comer. He's coming out with a new book on noise and silence. I was just listening to an interview he was doing with the Bible Project guys. Nice, yeah. And he had a sermon that he was giving to I think it was to other preachers, like a leadership conference, and on noise, and his experience writing the book. And he quoted this awesome. I need to read Screw Tape Letters. I need to read C.S. Lewis in some capacity. It seems like that's what I'm learning from this. But he quoted Screw Tape Letters of just when he's writing to Dear Wormwood or whoever, or is it Uncle Wormwood or
something like that. It's his nephew.
Wormwood is the nephew.
It's like his under tempter demon, but he calls he signs it your affectionate Uncle Screwtape.
Yeah, and so he tells Wormwood that oh, how I loathe silence and music. If only we could fill the world with noise, then we will sow despair and everything noise. And I found that very interesting because I come from experimental music, and I actually played I do love noise music to a certain extent of just exploring sounds. I love it as a kind of a kitchen for trying out new recipes, new things. Like it's like a experimental, like a lab of like trying to figure out what kind of new sounds can we make and master. And so, but then there's the counterbalance of like, yeah, I think the devil and demons love noise. That noise is if we they can take away music and silence from us, then that will separate us from the triune God. And that's why Jesus combated so hard to like go alone to a lonely place to be in silence, you know.
I think that's kind of one of the reasons why the sort of modern habit of doom scrolling is so destructive to our psyches and to our spirits, are because it'll bog you down in all of this just pointless, like this sense that everything is pointless, I guess you could say, where because you see people that are just doing whatever they can to get attention, get money, get fame, and at the same time you also sense the futility of it, and you end up living in the opening of Ecclesiastes, where it's just vanity, vanity, all is vanity. Of course, there's a lot more deeper meaning to that even than what we take from that. But
while we're talking about that, I mean, it makes me think like doom scrolling, I feel like has a lot in common with gambling, where you're from the user perspective, just like, what am I going to get this time? You know, what kind of dope? And then there's a dopamine hit with like the novelty, but then also like the randomness of like what's going to happen next. You know, what is fate going to show me next? So it's like a really risk-free way of gambling, but it also there's a cost to your soul. Like you're kind of, so we got to be careful. We got to be, what must we do? Not doom scroll.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break here. Listeners may notice that we now have ads from our podcast host. I don't know how often they're loaded. I mean, we're not exactly a high dollar,
high volume. You know, we love all 10 to 100 of you that are downloading and listening to these. So thank you.
But we are getting some now. So to make it easier on us as well as on y'all, so I don't have to like sneak in and find spots to try to stick them. We'll just take a real quick break, and we'll be right back. We are back here again.
After a commercial break.
That's right. I had to go in trying to think about back in the... I mean, I've listened to the radio enough to know, like, that's the point where they rush to go to the bathroom in 1 minute,
right,
30 seconds while the commercials run.
Yeah.
But here we can take as long as we want.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, we're not live yet.
That's something we may change. I need to get the stuff set up with like OBS to stream to like YouTube, and I don't know. I mean, I suppose we should get a camera going too.
Because I got a GoPro, I should just bring it, and it has a couple. I think maybe I have a computer, and I have a GoPro, and I have OBS on it. So then, try it out. We just need to log into the Coordination Radio YouTube.
Yeah, which isn't a big deal. I mean, all of that can be done through OBS Studio.
Does our podcast host have like live streaming capability? What's it called again?
Libsyn. I don't know if it does or not, but I know we can stream directly to YouTube. Because I used to do it through Facebook for the old Kings Highway Radio stuff. We would live stream what we were as we were recording, and then I would just take what we did and edit it and make it a podcast. But I know it's a little different now, like especially with YouTube stuff, like people won't do the same thing for their episodes that they're doing for their live streams. So
I do know also that like the Facebook, they don't save the live streams anymore. They actually delete them after 30 days.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I didn't mess around with that. So, and that's the thing, like I've been doing that on my personal page, which if you want to see some of the stuff that I'm talking about musically in terms of my band, if you look up my page, Dave Sipe, S-E-I-P, on Facebook, you can see me doing some streams there. And now you'll be able to follow my Instagram, David Sipe Tuba, to see me. As they'll be, the same thing will be on both places. Yeah. But that's one of those annoying things. Like I have to like download it and try to turn it into smaller chunks if I want to save it. And I'm like, that's a lot of work. I don't know if I want to do that. But it's just one of those
Yeah.
One of those things where it's like, I mean, I can understand they don't want to have a greater and greater amount of server space dedicated to that, but I'm like, I'd rather have it be dedicated to that than some chatbot that's trying to steal my IP and give it to other people.
Yeah.
Which, that's what we were talking about before, and we said we wanted to talk about on the show, was like a lot of AI stuff, because that's a hot topic right now.
It's a hot topic. So hot. And I'm kind of surprised, like, to me, like, I graduated my PhD in 2020. What was the big thing then? Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh.
Tech-wise, And then after that, what was the big thing in 2021? Altcoins, meme coins, all that stuff. What was the thing about that? Like Web3 or web, alternate domains, blockchain.
Yeah.
And then AI kind of came after that. But AI has been here to stay so far. For the last, since 2022, since ChatGPT dropped, it's kind of been everything that anybody wants to talk about all the time.
I think one of the questions that a lot of people are asking, because it's been very under wraps, is it actually something that's profitable? Because they're having to invest these massive sums into building more and more of these data centers, and there's so much pushback against them, as honestly there probably should be, because they consume massive amounts of electricity and water. And especially here in the South, where we already have trouble, with our water sources.
Especially in South Texas.
Yeah, or in Arizona and New Mexico. It's like, these are deserts. Why are you consuming your scarce water resources like this? But,
Well, is your workplace incorporating AI in some capacity, or?
We, very, very minimally. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll give, ChatGPT a list of accounts with information that's already public. I don't give it any kind of proprietary information, but say, I need you to organize these accounts into these kind of groupings, and I just give it a set of rules, and it'll spit out a spreadsheet, and that kind of thing is helpful. I don't have a secretary to do that kind of stuff for me, so having the ability to have it do that is very nice. But to actually do my job, to reach out to customers or write emails, I know some places they'll have ChatGPT spitting out their sales emails and stuff. I'm like, absolutely not. ChatGPT and all these other things, they write really weird, for one thing. It's very obvious that it's a chatbot writing.
You were saying it praises you too much. It gives you too much. It's too positive. Yeah.
I was having a conversation with a chatbot trying to think through a question I was working through for something I was writing. But it was kind of annoying. I'm like, I want you to help me spot the inconsistency so I can answer it. Not
stop
tell me
complimenting me.
Not tell me that
Correct
I'm a brilliant
me.
person here.
Yeah.
And I think what's that phrase that is coming up a lot now? AI psychosis or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems. And I mean, obviously, it's that's been in the news. I saw an article about a dude who he bought he paid for the whole hog ChatGPT experience, and he's out there telling this business idea to the chatbot, and of course all it's doing is telling, this is brilliant, this is the best idea you've ever come up with. He invests tons and tons of money, and it completely bombs because of course it's going to tell you that. That's what it's made to do.
It's troubling how addictive it is, how they've made it,
Well, it's not really, you get this thing going with it where you think that it's like another person because of the way it talks to you. It is kind of eerie, because I remember old chatbots and the way that they would talk to you, old ones. And they had a lot of limits as to what they could understand, what they could say. But now, this large language models, they can really develop a little bit of a personality. But the thing is that they feed back what you feed to them, and it's just kind of like a mirror talking to yourself a little bit. So, and again, that isn't necessarily what makes it good or bad. It's just the nature of it. So,
the limitation, maybe we could say.
It's not like you're talking to the enterprise computer where it has the ability to render real human personalities on the holodeck for you that come to life and then try to destroy everything.
We're a long way from that, and
yeah,
it seems like all the troubling news articles of generative, or what was it, general generalized or artificial generalized intelligence, AGI, artificial generalized intelligence.
Yeah.
It's like some people say it's really here, close by. So others say it's like far away. But the CEOs, when they say it's really close by, or they're trying to sell you something. They're in salesman mode. They're trying to sell you that we need it, or we need to get ahead of it. And it's like, no, there's no compulsion on my part. Like, I'm gonna keep living my life and loving my family, loving my church, paying my bills. Like,
I think one of the most troubling aspects of it is how so many of these billionaires pushing for it seem to have this idea that they're going to be able to offload their workforce to AI, and they won't need to bother with paying people to do stuff. And like so many of them, I mean, I don't have like a bunch of quotes pulled up in front of me, but I mean,
know Anthropic CEO. That's a big one.
And it's just like, what for one thing, if you were actually able to do that, what do you think is going to happen to people if you could truly outsource all work to AI? Like, because these are not people that are going to vote for a universal basic income.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do to get people to work? Well, they'll just have to be retrained. But retrained to do what? I guess they'll have to, learn how to plumbing.
There's a bunch of sides. Like, one of the sides is like that AI is going to create. They're going to be AI jobs like that. We're going to be.
Yeah.
Our jobs will now be using the AI in a way that's generative. Not like even like a partnership with AI, but more of just like using it as a tool that like we're gonna need trained people. We're probably gonna see some college degrees of like, I'm getting a bachelor's degree in prompting, like something like that, like
that's
which is
true.
Nuts. But I think
all those people who got university studies degrees will finally have something to do besides work in the college touring center.
Administration. Yeah. So,
no,
but it's. I mean, to me as a musician, like, it's funny because like Adam Neely, who's a big music YouTuber, put out a lot of series of videos on Suno, a really great video essay on Suno, and but it's skewed, and Suno's an AI generative music. It makes music. It makes tracks fully produced, mastered, ready to be published on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I love him, and he raises like 90% of the videos like really great points, and then the other 10% you just got to understand that he's coming from a very secular, more like pro-union perspective. Like, he's like the worker, like you're either like a scab, like if you're backing AI, you're a scab, that kind of jargon. Which, me being in Denton, Texas, growing up in West Kentucky, like, I don't know what that means, I don't, and it's like, so it's like, it's really great, but then it's like also very skewed, you gotta, I think we need to be careful too with all the hubbub of like generating our own vantage point as Christians, like not only using the Bible as like a source and but also like, what does Jake Feedy think about this? What does Dave Sipe think about it? Like, how is this useful in raising Sammy? How is this useful in Raven? Like, I don't want to have someone else's opinion, is what I'm trying to say. Like, we want to have our own opinion and then commune with God, and having in our quiet times, like talking with God. How is AI shaping me? How do you want to shape me, God? Like, how should I use this, and ask it. Yeah.
Do you use the YouVersion app?
Oh, yes. But do they have an AI bot?
Well, so they have their little daily thing they upload, and you can tell when they're written by a person and when they've been spat out by AI.
Ooh,
for one thing, because they have those M dashes crammed in there all over the place.
And I'm so mad because I love M dashes,
well,
and I'm so sad because now it's a sign that AI used it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I use them all the time because I feel like it's good for emphasizing things and
it's better than a comma. You're like, separating ideas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like a semicolon is a little too formal sometimes. Like, if I'm going to use a semicolon on my phone, I have to like stop and hit the button.
Yeah,
twice.
And usually one of my professors, when I was writing my dissertation, she was saying that like you really only want to use semicolons really when you're like making informal lists of more than 3 things or more than 2 things. So anyway,
true, but yeah, I mean, that's an argument for an English professor to have.
Right.
But
we're just too guys smoking cigars in a shop. So
I think the other issue, and probably the one that, I'm sorry, what was the name of the fellow you were just talking about?
Adam Neely.
Adam Neely. Yeah. I think the other issue, probably the one that he's talking about more, would be one of, is AI really making it, or is it just taking all of the stuff that it's been given and rearranging it into something else?
Right. And
because that's really, I think,
that's the limitation. It's not making anything new. It's just copying what's already been done. It can never really innovate and make new stuff. So
now, of course, to a certain extent, when we're creating things, there's an element of that too. We take everything that's come before us, and that inspires. Excuse me. Sorry. That inspires us to what we do. But I mean, the human brain is far more powerful than a whole host of data centers, and that's just the reality of it. It probably always will be. I don't think that the what do they call the point where AI is going to become indistinguishable from human intelligence?
That's the AGI. That's the artificial general intelligence.
The singularity. I don't really think that's ever going to be a real thing. I mean, and I'm sure that there's somebody out there who knows more about AI than I do, who's like screaming that that's ridiculous, that it's not true, that there's going to be I don't believe so. I don't think it is. And that's my
there was one guy that I followed, he compared it, there's this like analogy of just like the translator, and I think we've talked about this on podcasts in the past, but just you have someone trapped in a jail cell that speaks English only, and they're given with no instruction, like, okay, they're given two handbooks, one's in Chinese to Russian and one to Russian to Chinese, and they're given like daily Chinese symbols to translate to Russian. Do they still understand Chinese or Russian? No. They're just given instructions. That's the same thing with computers.
Right.
We're just giving them they speak in zeros and ones, but we're speaking in emotion and spirituality, and they don't understand that. So they just understand the zeros and ones.
Well, right. Like if I have a theological conversation with Gemini or something like that, it can speak to me with all of the information that it has in its database from what people have written and uploaded and done this and that and the other thing, and have and it can gather information for me, and it can it can correspond with me in a manner that I want it to a certain degree, but it can't actually truly think through these issues.
Right.
And that's not necessarily a good or bad thing. That's just the nature of the nature of the beast. But I think that's going to be the big question: is what will it look like for a society that's made up of sinful, grasping, greedy people to have something that, if it could become that, if it was able to truly be alive in that sense, what would the consequences be for humanity?
Yeah.
Would it be more like the Terminator, or would it be more like Mr. Data, or would it be more like I don't know, what's a more modern example than my 30 or 40-year-old sci-fi?
Right. I haven't had time to. I'm sorry. I'm not your guy. Jamie got it.
Yeah. Put it up on the screen. I think that's a concern. I think to a certain degree, but I don't know. I mean, certainly I'm not going to be able to do anything to truly affect it. Yeah. Except in the sense of I'm not a happy camper with the idea. They're building 3 of these data centers here in town, and Denton already has had enough issues with droughts.
Oh, wow.
So I can't imagine
where are they going to be?
I'm not 100% sure, but
there's 3.
That's what has been in the news. They're building 3 different ones.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know. We're going to see. But, I know there's that town, was it Granbury or something like that? They built a giant one outside of, and it's been causing health issues for those people because
sound pollution,
the constant sound that's put out by the army of massive cooling units out there.
Fans,
it's just an incredible nuisance. So I don't want to be I feel like the whole NIMBY thing, not in my backyard, that's not very helpful, because a lot of times all it means is you just want to put in somebody else's backyard. But I think that there needs to be a better, healthier conversation around what kind of safeguards we can put. And it doesn't help that Trump basically has put as many blocks in place for creating those safeguards as possible. whoever succeeds him, I feel like is going to have to really.
Well, that
do a
and
lot of cleaning up.
our legislative branch too. You know.
Oh yeah, they've just refused to do their job.
They don't compromise. Yeah.
There's just
So,
they won't do anything that he.
neither
hasn't asked them
sides
to do.
too.
No, and that's a whole other show right there. Just talking about what the atrocities that are happening with Congress and the president and everything else. Did you hear this business with Trump basically settling with himself over this IRS business? So a few years ago, a contract employee with the IRS leaked the tax returns of a bunch of really, really rich folks, and Trump was one of those people. And they settled with most of them. Like the guy is in prison now. He's serving a 5-year sentence.
Yeah.
Because he leaked confidential information. He should be in prison because that's a crime. But Trump sued the IRS for $10 billion. Now, Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He's suing himself, essentially. And so his Justice Department settles with him in this one, creating this, what they're calling a $1.8 billion fund. It's supposed to pay against quote unquote weaponization, but basically it's a slush fund for Trump's buddies to get cash out of it.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. The corruption has reached a whole new level, and I hate to.
Well, I work in retirement, and Social Security is a conversation every single day.
That's
so.
a whole other mess.
Well, that might be a sign that we need to wrap up.
Yeah, I don't want to get into this point where I'm getting very negative about it, but it is a serious issue that weighs on a lot of people's minds, and I think it's going to impact the trajectory of our electorate into the next cycle.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm glad we get to hang out and do this again,
Yeah.
and hopefully we can do it again here in a couple weeks.
And if you're listening, and if you check out my string quartet, let me know what you think. And
we'll put
you
some
can email
links.
us at spurgeonaudio@gmail.com.
We'll be. You can look at our website, coronationradio.net. That's where all the writings that we're talking about are going up there. We're on YouTube now, so you can subscribe to podcast through YouTube if you want.
And if we can pray for you, please send us something that you need prayer for. If you have any questions about, especially all the papers that Dave has been cranking out, please feel free to comment on those blog posts. I think you got one comment on like YouTube, and you got to kind of like a really meaningful question of just like a specific theological topic you got to kind of give feedback to. So please feel free to posit those. We'll start a conversation that way. So
and as I said before, if you want to see the brass band stuff I'm talking about, come check out my Instagram, David Sight Tuba, or the Big Easy Brass Band is the name of the group. But as always, we are praying for you guys. And man, you had closing. What verse did you quote again?
What verse did I pull again?
Yeah, you quoted a verse at the end. I was like, that's a good closer. We should keep that. And I forgot what it was now.
Oh, I don't even remember. I need to listen back to it. But maybe, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and self-control.
There you go.
2 Timothy 3:16.
That is a perfect theme for what we've been talking about. So we'll see you next time.